If I didn't have ethics, I wouldn't have a career. I wouldn't have a reputation. I wouldn't have credibility. I wouldn't have a platform to tell our story as hunters, and nor should I if I don't have ethics. You know, ethics are really the core of all of it. I can't wait for people to see the film and see what the future of mule deer hunting looks like through the secretary's eyes. There's a lot of sportsmen that are standing back going, don't screw us here. Like, we believe in you, but you better prove to us that you're going to do what you're going to do. You know, I just feel like I was put here to tell stories and create content and make conservation appealing. That's really my goal with everything I do. That's no longer to just tell stories about a guy on a hunt. There has to be a bigger message to everything.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Wilderness Attitude Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Waddell. We're here at the Western Hunt Expo in Salt Lake City. I should rephrase that as the Western Hunt and Conservation Expo. I think that's an important piece to that title. And today is rocking and rolling in here. We're in the Wilderness Athlete booth and next to Western Hunter, and it is a madhouse around here. And it is so awesome to see the turnout here. Last year was my first year here, and I think there's more people here this year than there was last year by far. And Saturday was crazy last year, but as we were kind of making our way back over to the booth to start this podcast, if you cut through some certain aisles, you feel like you're playing Frogger, and it's interesting. But without further ado, I got an awesome guest today. I met him. I've followed him. I've seen some of his films. I've seen his, I've watched him on TV, and I always thought, wow, what a cool dude, man. One of these days I got to try to meet this guy. And, and as a relatively new podcaster and is, working into his second year, you can be a little starstruck by people. But I can tell you that over the last 6 weeks, I've met some amazing people that if you'll just be yourself, be firm in who you are, and approach some people and talk to some people, anybody in this industry relatively is approachable. And if you just come up and be yourself and don't be all cray-cray.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But anyway, Jason Matzinger, thank you so much for meeting me for the podcast today.
Absolutely.
I really
Thanks
appreciate
for having me.
When I saw you at ATA, I just kind of caught you after the Badlands Film Festival, and I'd seen your film, and I was like, I got to just give him my business card, and I got to ask. You just got to ask.
Yeah.
And then I was lucky enough that night to kind of hang out with Willie and end up jumping in the back of an Uber ride with Butch, and next thing we know, we're here and there and everywhere, and I'm running into everybody, and it worked out pretty cool, and catching up with you, running into you at Sheep, and I just really appreciate taking the time. I mean, you're a busy guy doing a lot of things. We talked a little bit about, doing the TV show. It's something that you do to make some money and do some things, but you're also here making a difference, with all the amazing stuff you're doing with the Mule Deer Foundation and specifically this show for that organization, right? I mean, this is a big one for them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
For you.
Yeah. No, we've been working on a project together called Project Mule Deer for the last 3 years, and it's finally going to come to a head. We've been doing a mini-series called Project Mule Deer that we've been launching one video a month for the last year, and that's over, and now we're going into production of the film. So been talking to a lot of people myself and interviewing and trying to, finish up this project. We've put a lot of work behind it, and I know the Mule Deer Foundation is really looking forward to it to help bring awareness to what they do and hopefully bring more people in.
Well, and like I said, it's that part of your life where you feel like you're making a difference, right? And I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of passion. It's a lot of heart and a lot of soul.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot for everybody's energies to be in the right place, and it takes time to make that story correct and
That's right.
I mean, like, we all know storytellers that put you to sleep, and we all know storytellers that get you on the edge of your seat. And telling a story through your TV show or through this project, it's calculated. It takes some time.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of moving parts there.
For sure. And sometimes, those stories fall in your lap and you happen to be there with the camera and it just works out. But most of the time for what we do, it takes a long time to collect all the necessary pieces to that story to really tell a compelling story. You know, and that's why especially when it comes to these big conservation films, I'm not in a hurry to make a mistake. You know, I would rather sit back and really analyze stuff and make sure I know I have the time to do a good job, you know, instead of try to force everything I'm trying to do in a short amount of time. It just doesn't work, you know.
Well, and there's people that volunteer to do a lot of things, and they do the bare minimum in order to notch their belt.
Yeah.
Right? And so hearing that from you is refreshing, because you have, if you're going to get involved at the level you're at, then you gotta. It's a full commitment, and it's not 99%. It's 210%, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's so many people out there that are trying to do what I do, or that they're just waiting for an opportunity for me to stumble or get their opportunity, and so it's you can't ever get complacent. You have to always be who you say you are, most importantly, and follow through. I mean, it's not hard, but it's busy.
Well, and it's not hard. I mean, it's easy to say it's not hard, but it takes a man to get up every day and put that one foot in front of the other and do what he says he's going to do it when he says he's going to do it, and do it with conviction.
Yeah.
Right? And even like we spoke about it before, even with ethics, I mean, that's extremely important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like we had talked about the ethics, you said, it's conservation is a big part of it, but ethics is as well, and you're right. I mean, like I said, if I didn't have ethics, I wouldn't have a career, I wouldn't have a reputation, I wouldn't have credibility, I wouldn't have a platform to tell our story as hunters, and nor should I if I don't have ethics. Ethics are really the core of all of it. Everything we do revolves around respect for the animal, being an ethical sportsman when you're in the field.
Respect
always
for
treating
others. I mean, the other hunters, the other people,
or non-hunters,
yeah. I mean,
just being a respectful person and always, treating every situation as though someone's watching, because most of the time they are. And,
oh man, in this day and age, with every phone and every there's a camera everywhere, man.
Yeah, and as hunters, I think we have the opportunity to. The vast majority of the world doesn't hunt, but they don't really care one way or the other. Mm-hmm. But depending on how we impact them, if we come into their life and they're just doing their thing on a hike, and all of a sudden we're not we're not nice to them, we give them a bad reputation, we try to rub, maybe something in their face a little bit they may not like or something, and they're going to walk away and they're going to tell 10 friends how bad hunters are.
That's right. I mean,
but if we take that same opportunity and affect them in a positive way, and are nice to them and try to educate them maybe, or just engage in a conversation with them, and they'd turn around and tell people that we are good people and we are out there for the right reasons. And
right.
So it's really up to each and every one of us to understand that every time we go out there, every time we are in the public's view as a hunter, we have to really take responsibility for that and understand how important it is to treat every conversation and every situation with respect and ethics.
Yeah. Even on the trail, anywhere you're at, I mean, you come across mountain bikers, and there's been times like I'm going to try to get some podcasts in where you've got mountain bikers that are hunters and hunters that are mountain bikers, and back and forth, and then hunters who aren't and mountain bikers who aren't, because that's a big, down where we live in Durango, I mean, it's a huge thing, man. I mean, mountain biking and the trails, and they're opening more trails every year for the mountain bikers to hit, and it's kind of like they're encroaching in our hunting world, right?
Sure.
But the reality is that, the national forests and the wilderness and these state lands are just as much as theirs as they are ours, right? It's all ours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, even if that's kind of an existence there, well, then maybe you need to get a little deeper, right? But then if you meet a mountain biker, like I met some mountain bikers last year, we were on horseback. I met some mountain bikers, and I'm like, They're totally respectful of the horses. They got off. They got out of the way. It was awesome. They said hi. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Hey, you see any elk? You see any deer? And they're like, oh, you know what? We saw one early this morning up in XYZ, and go up there. You know, we heard one bugle this morning down in this canyon, and sweet, man, thanks. And yeah, good luck. You know,
Yeah.
and that's how it needs to be. But there's a lot of that bridge and some of that stuff I think that needs to be, it needs to be bridged together. It needs to be, worked on. But like you say, every encounter, every conversation, it's not hard to put a smile on your face and look at somebody and say, hey, you're just as much be a part here as I am.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I've found mountain bikers where they're not supposed to be, but
Sure.
and it's just like, hey, you seen anybody? Oh, that's cool. You seen any elk? Great. Not whatever. But you guys really, I'm not trying to be the guy to tell you, but you're not supposed to be mountain biking up here, and I just hate for you to get hurt. I hate for you to get shot. I mean, you're not wearing any orange. You're just kind of moving. I mean, not that I'll just shoot at anything that just moves, but there's people that do.
Yeah.
So you might want to consider that
Right.
while you're out here. And sometimes they look at you and they're like, really? We can't here? Well, I was like, just look on your map, figure it out. You'll see,
Sure.
and some of them, whatever. But then some of them look at you and they're just like, yeah, whatever. They take off. But it's our responsibility to be the ones that are always on the up.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
So I think that's a good point. Within ethics, it's something that carries over, not just in hunting. It carries over every day. Right? I mean, it carries over in how we are as men at home. It carries over as how we are men at work. It carries over in our relationships. It carries over in every way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Right? I mean, God's watching every day. So
Yep.
get up and be a good guy every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So speaking of that, you met a guy yesterday and got to interview him. And you got to, I want you to tell everybody who it is, because I think that this is a super special part for you. You came here with the intentions that if this could happen, then it was the best thing that could ever happen at the show, right?
Sure.
And I think that from your conversation with me earlier, that this is a guy that has those ethics.
Yeah.
Especially for someone, a politician, right? That's not, I think the stereotypical thought is that they don't have ethics.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So tell the listeners more about this special, awesome thing that happened yesterday.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, so like I said, I've been working on this project Mule Deer film, and I'm trying to tell our story just different and bring a different approach, And so I'm always looking to shoot for the stars in any way I can, And yesterday, I got the opportunity to sit down with the Secretary of the Interior, Ryan Zinke, and talk to him about the future of public lands and public hands and how that looks for sportsmen. And, he just signed a bill that is going to help give us the opportunity to protect and recognize travel corridors for animals, getting from point A to point B. And
even if it crosses state lines.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Connectivity of these areas and being able to manage those differently and recognize them is huge. And, you always feel like these guys have an answer for everything. It's just like a script or something. But when I got the chance to sit down and interview him and kind of get a little more down to, questions that you don't hear on the news every day, I was pleasantly surprised by just how passionate he is about what he does, too. He's not just a working robot for, the people. Like, he's a very passionate man about, getting behind sportsmen and making sure that we're recognizing the issues we have today and addressing them, and for our kids and their kids and down the line. And so I shot for the stars. I didn't know if I would ever get the opportunity to sit down with him, because when they come in, their time is, every minute is accounted for, and they're in and out. And thanks to the Mule Deer Foundation and a lot of people helped put that meeting together, and it just went great. So I can't wait for people to see the film and see, what the future of mule deer hunting looks like through the Secretary's eyes.
Yeah,
so.
that's special. I mean, kudos to him for taking that time to sit down with you and give you the real man, right?
Yeah.
Not, like you said, not the politician answers, not the that scripted dialogue,
Yeah.
right? And that shows a transparency that has come with this administration. It's a transparency that we haven't seen for a long time, and it's refreshing.
Absolutely.
As an American, let alone as a hunter.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, he was born in Bozeman, so I mean we had that right off the bat. I'm born and raised there myself, so that was a good conversation starter. But yeah, I mean, it was good to hear, because there are a lot of people out there who are wondering, now that we voted him in, are they truly for sportsmen? Because the sale of this public land, it's a very scary thing,
right?
And there's a lot of people in this room. There's a lot of sportsmen that are standing back going, don't screw us here. We believe in you, but you better prove to us that you're going to do what you're going to do. And I think, that conversation proved to me that they know it. They know what they're,
Well, that conversation is the exclamation point on the fact that he came here and that he signed that here.
Exactly.
And that
he walked around this hall freely,
and around good human beings,
yeah.
right? Because we can all be labeled a lot of things,
Oh, yeah.
that we're not.
Yeah.
And I just think it's an epic time for sportsmen, hunters. It's an epic time for people that aren't hunters, if they just understand that bill and what it means.
Right.
That we're here for the animals. It's not just about us.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That bill was for them. It's for their ability to survive and continue and to be a viable resource.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
yeah, without habitat, without the animals, this room doesn't exist.
That's right.
Nothing in this room would be here if we didn't have habitat and wildlife.
Yeah, not a longbow, not a crossbow,
nothing.
Not a rifle, no nothing.
Nothing.
All the things that people get all upset about, or the camo choices or all these different things, right? But it all comes down to the animal.
Yeah.
That's what we all need to be here for. That's the uniting factor that people forget in this room sometimes, right? Because we know that people, the antis, are looking in and watching us self-destruct in some avenues because we don't remember where it all starts.
Exactly.
And so it's super important for people to have that perspective and to remember that it's each person's responsibility to remember that.
Yep.
Right? It's not the Mule Deer Foundation's responsibility. It's not the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation's responsibility. They're just here to remind you that there's an avenue you can use and a place that where we can come together and work together, but it's still every individual's job every day.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of, the films too, is just it's educating the hunters as much as the non-hunters of our responsibilities, and continuing to beat that drum of, hey, it is our responsibility. Nobody else is going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to make sure that we're always focused in, maintaining what we've done, but also bringing more people in to do more. It's never going to get easier. We're going to face more challenges, less people to help, and more challenges. So, yeah, the films are... you learn about mule deer through the process. You learn what they need in the summer and the winter and the spring and the fall. But through that, you also learn that, like we say, without habitat, without connectivity of this habitat, everything we're talking about doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so,
and specifically like that uninterrupted connectivity. That's important.
Yeah, especially to mule deer. They're so much more of a finicky animal than a whitetail or an elk. An elk will just push on through. It doesn't matter what it is. An elk will get through it.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Deer, they won't.
They're a little more fragile, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm really glad we had a chance to hit on some of that. That's the beat of the drum this weekend for me in the podcast. And it's super important for everybody to know it's their part in. I think that it's super important for people to do things on a local level, like for me, just locally, right in my little town, my county, and then be a part of your, organization at the state level. For me, it's Colorado Bowhunters Association,
Uh-huh.
and then I think, and then getting broader from there, right? I mean, you can go up to Pope and Young as an archer, or you can get into Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation or Ducks Unlimited. They're all making a difference. So,
exactly.
And if you figure that you could have 3 memberships for $100 a year, that's cheap,
right?
For ensuring that your kids have a future out there.
Absolutely.
So I just encourage people to do that, and it's not hard. It's a simple commitment.
Yeah.
It's not, think about what you spend for a coffee every day.
For sure.
Think of, just a few little things and how huge of an impact it is in this country for your $100.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One guy I interviewed yesterday was Emmett Burrows, and Emmett's the founder of Mule Deer Foundation. He was the original founder.
Uh-huh.
And I asked him kind of about the background and where it all came from, and he said, he told the story about when he got the idea to found the Mule Deer Foundation, but then he told the story about getting I think he said he had 10 of his best friends who he knows they all like to hunt deer,
Mm-hmm.
They all sat down at a table, and he goes, okay, I'm going to ask you all to reach in your wallet and pull out $20 and put it on the table. And so everybody pulled out their wallet and put $20 on the table. He goes, okay, you have just made your first contribution to the Mule Deer Foundation, and that's the first time anybody had ever given money for mule deer beyond buying a license or beyond buying stuff. So he was like, and with that, the Mule Deer Foundation was founded. And we had a pile of $200. But look at where we are today because of that little pile of 20s.
Yeah, and then I hear they're going to open up a whole other wing to this next year.
Really?
Another 100 or 130 booths next year.
Wow.
Holy cow, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
Right.
And so it just goes to show you the power of simplicity.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
It was 10 guys, $20.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a simple idea with a solid foundation of morals and ethics and conservation and thought out, and then boom.
Yeah.
It's insane. And how long ago was that? How long ago was
that? Was 20. Let's see. That was in trying to think. I think 82 possibly.
82?
Right, sometime right around then. Yeah, 82 or 84. I've heard so many stories.
I wonder what even gave them the insight in 1982. I mean, not that it's any different to hunt deer in 1960 or 1980 or 2012 or whatever, but, at that point, what did they see? What sparked the idea of, holy cow, they need this?
Yeah, and at that time, mule deer weren't in a tough spot, They were thriving, and
I don't know, it's kind of the same model as Theodore Roosevelt, right? I mean, it wasn't. He saw a vision of something that he felt needed to be done, something that needed protected.
Yeah,
right?
But no, he just, the story he told was talking about how he had been hunting for 3 or 4 days and couldn't find any of the age class bucks he was looking for, and he said he remembered he was laying there looking through his rifle scope at the hill, and he was watching 2 bucks, and he wasn't going to shoot them. They were too small, and they both fed out of his scope. And he said, I just laid there staring at the hillside through my scope and these big boulders. And he goes, it just hit me that I needed to do something for these deer. And he goes, I'll just never forget thinking that, just laying there looking through my scope at just a mountain with just these boulders on it. And I, and he goes, I had just passed up these 2 bucks, and they disappeared. And he goes, it was at that moment I decided this needs to become more than just something I think about. I need to follow through.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's so cool because I mean, you can pick up you can look around the room and think of a lot of these things that have been invented here. You can think about a lot of different things, right? And it's just, it's amazing how the human mind works and creates and feels and develops and how we really can look outside of ourselves and find greatness and find beauty and find things that that make a difference.
Right.
And sometimes you gotta slow down, right? Sometimes you gotta just be laying on the side. I wonder how many amazing things were thought of on the side of a mountain just like that, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Well, the wilderness is an amazing place.
Yeah.
You know, it's so inspirational.
Yeah.
It's peaceful. It's got, I mean, you know, I ask everybody that comes on the podcast, you know, about what the wilderness means to them, and it's amazing to me. There's a lot of responses that are the same, but if you listen, there's always something that's different.
Yeah.
You know, from each individual.
For sure.
And so that's, I'm glad we got that. Let's switch gears. So let's get back to Jason and his childhood. Let's get back to Stu Pedasso. Yes, Kate was telling me even when I opened up, I should have said that I had Stu Pedasso here. And listeners, I challenge you to say that 3 times fast, and then you'll figure out. Maybe it won't even take you 3 times, and you'll figure out why. Who was it that gave you the name?
Ray Crow with
Ray
Mule
Crow.
Foundation.
Yeah, Ray. I was thinking Roy, but I didn't want to butcher it.
He's always so clever with his name badges. When we show up, you never know what you're going to get.
Well, it's almost like you want to come here to find out,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, can't wait to see who I'll be next year.
That's for sure. So you were born and raised in Bozeman.
Yes.
So I mean, you're kind of precursor to be a wilderness guy. I think if you're born in Bozeman, right? I mean, right?
I mean, you'd have to work pretty hard to not be an outdoorsman around there. I think. I mean, we just have everything there. We have all the big game hunting opportunities. We have amazing trout fisheries. We have some of the best ski hills. We've got great bird hunting. We've got, you know, we're in the middle of it, and because of that, the entire culture, you know, around there, you work in the outdoors in some way, shape, or form, whether it's at the ski hill or
rafting or
whatever, a ski fishing guide, or I mean, that's just the way Bozeman is.
If you can do it outside, you can do it in Bozeman.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Pretty
right?
much, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well,
so I feel lucky to have been born and raised there, and you know, continue to have the majority of my families there, and you know, I don't know if I could effectively do the show or the films like I do if I hadn't been born in a place like that, or, you know, being able to walk out and get film just right out my back door, literally, you know. So.
I mean, you kind of live in a place that has the heartbeat for who you are and how you feel and what you're passionate about, and of course, and then being in a place to be able to make the content, like you say, to be able to deliver that in that, you know, just that real reality sense, right?
Right.
You know, not a produced sense of reality, but just it's real.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
And so, as a young boy, you're born and raised there. Brothers, sisters?
I've got one brother and one sister, both older. I'm the baby.
You're the baby boy, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so then, you know, so when you were getting the chance to go out in the wilderness, was it you and your brother and sister going out and going and doing stuff, or was it you and dad and grandpa or mom? How did that play out?
Yeah, really. When it first started, it was me and my dad and my brother. But my brother never really took to hunting like I did. He's a golfer. My brother's a golfer. He loves to golf, and he's good at it.
You got to be good at it when you only have like 2.5 months of summer.
Exactly. So he, you know, most of it was growing up with Dad. My grandpa was pretty, you know, he was older by the time I was able to kind of get out and get up there. So I do remember a couple hunting trips with when Grandpa was around, but most of them are with my dad, Tim, and his best friend George Deeroff, who their family had started the Powderhorn Sporting Goods store that's down on Main Street in Bozeman. So that's where I, you know, used to go and get my first slingshot and get my hunting tags and
your Red Ryder
buy
BB
arrows
gun.
and get BBs and that was all at the Powderhorn.
So I would assume that those two gentlemen are the ones that kind of began your ethical journey in the outdoors, right?
For sure.
I mean,
yeah, they're both real, you know, stand-up guys in everything they do, and hunting. You know, we had fun out there hunting, but it wasn't a joking matter. It was to be taken serious, and it was to be. You were to honor the animal. You were to make good shots. You were to, you know, obviously be safe when you're out there. And yeah, we were laughing almost in tears the whole time. But it's you know, just the camaraderie. But
that's the making
hunt
the memory
itself,
part.
the ethics was always there. It was never when you go to go on that stalk or, lay down to take that shot, it's to be taken very seriously, and it's quite a responsibility. Yeah.
What's your most fondest memory as a young child? Like pre-12 of being with these two men, or by yourself, or anything that in the wilderness that you were doing.
I'd say something that just something for me that I remember and think about all the time is when I did actually sort of get the first invite to go with the guys and be in hunting camp. And George had a son named Levi that I'm good friends with, and Levi was just a little bit older than me, but we were about the same. And so they used to do an antelope camp where they would take the camper down and set the camper up, and, that would kind of be home base for us, and bring the 22s, and we could shoot cans, pop cans, and prairie dogs or whatever, and just to kind of ride along and be with the guys, and then come back to camp and, make sandwiches and shoot cans with the BB gun or the 22 or whatever like that. I really remember those trips, being young, and how much I looked forward to them, and just couldn't wait to see what we would get that day, because antelope hunting, you're pretty successful most of the time. So there was always a lot of
I need to come antelope hunting with you then, because
yeah, I mean, there's always action, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So as a kid, it was easier to stay involved as a kid.
Right.
I used to love, my favorite part of hunting was driving through the herds of cattle when I grew up. That was my favorite part.
And did Dad let you drive? Drive?
No. Well, I mean, at times I'd sit on his lap and steer or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's a
cool
thing to do.
I literally would ask my dad to, go drive through the cattle.
Because don't go around, go right through the middle.
So I just thought it was so cool. You could have all these big animals right around you and, right out the window. And I don't know. It just gave me a thrill when I was little.
That's good stuff. I used to do this. With water delivery, we'd go and fill up troughs of water for these cows. And, dude, I got smushed by a cow one time. Got a little intimidating. Because they got thirsty, man. They were running out of water, and we'd show up, and then they started figuring out that truck had water in it. And it was like I couldn't open the valve fast enough to go into the trough and get out of the way, because they wanted to drink it right out of the spigot.
Dang.
They didn't want to drink it out of the tank because it was splashing at them. And, so I'm not real fond of being in the middle of a bunch of cows myself. So you progressed through being a teenager, maybe, or get into high school. I mean, were you in high school sports? Did that affect your hunting and time frames and stuff you did?
It did a little bit. I actually got hurt in football my freshman year, and I never forget the doctor kind of told me, it was the second back injury I had in 2 weeks of playing football in his lower back. And I remember the doctor kind of looking at me and going, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but there's a good chance you're probably not going to make it in the NFL. And if you like to hunt and you want to do that years down the road, I suggest you probably just quit playing football, because your back is already screwed up from it. And, and I dealt with it for a long time. I hyperextended it really bad, and it tore some of the cartilage loose that would hold in my ribs. Mm-hmm. And so for a long time, if I'd even make the slightest little movement, my ribs would pop out, and then it would take my breath away. It'd push on my diaphragm or something. I don't know. It was
painful,
weird.
Huh?
And so for a long time, I would have to be in and out of the chiropractor, popping those ribs back in. And now it's gotten to the point where I think that it's probably just cartilaged, or
scar tissue, and now it holds it together.
Yeah.
So,
I played golf, believe it or not. I said, my brother's a big golfer. Our family does golf. And so I was actually 4 years on the high school golf team in Bozeman.
No kidding. I would have never read you for that.
Yeah, and so it didn't screw me up. Golf was in the spring.
Uh-huh.
So
yeah, there you go.
I had all fall.
It all kind of played out how it needed to, it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Made you the stealthy man you are today. So I had this thought in my head. My dad has this thing where he takes golf clubs and balls to these weirdest places just so he can drive a golf ball into oblivion. Do you do that?
I have before. I mean, it's not usually that I think about it ahead of time. It'll be one where it's like you end up there and the golf bag's in the back, and you're like, yeah, we should do this. This would be fun.
My dad left me a golf ball on the side of the highway at a certain mile marker one time. So I left one there teed up for you. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's
so I was
funny.
wondering, maybe you need to do a video where you actually, in one of your hunts,
That
you
would
whip
be
out
funny,
your driver,
actually.
then you drive one off the top
That
of a,
would be.
12,000-foot cliff. And
Just let one
see
rip.
see that elk bugling over there? He's 275 yards. I can hit him.
About a 3-wood.
Whack.
3-wood.
3-wood. Yeah, that'd be funny. And if you actually got that on film and actually like hit him, I mean, imagine that.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Pull it, I don't know what you'd call that shot, right? The stupid asso shot, because that's what that elk is thinking.
The stupid asso, yeah.
So you leave golf behind. At what point in time, Jason, did you realize that this thing that you were raised up through and football turned you to, and when did it all begin to click that this was your gig, to be this hunting show and this face and voice and reason for Mule Deer Foundation and the producer of these films? And I mean, maybe this is a long question, right? A lot of different time frames that this happened to you, but there was a point in time where it sparked, right? Where was that? Where was it? Where were you? When?
I mean, I was a big game guide right out of high school, and I grew up watching, hunting shows. Well, I grew up watching Gordon Eastman, Marty Stauffer. They were my idols, still are.
Nice.
And then just, hunting TV started to become more mainstream, and more shows started to come out. More stuff was made available. And I just didn't feel it told our story very well. I felt like it just didn't. When I watched it, I didn't even connect, really. And I'm a hunter,
good point. Mm-hmm.
So I felt like what I got the opportunity to see every day of my life as a guide out there, I felt like would rival anything that was currently on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just like anything, they make it look so easy, So I thought I could just come right in and just kill it, And
right.
Once I started filming, I realized that there was a lot more to it than that, and that making these shows wasn't going to be as easy as I thought it would. But that's really where it came from, was just guiding, getting to see amazing things every day, and then watching what was on and representing us, and just feeling like there was this big disconnect,
right.
And so at the time, I tried to film my hunters, and then I just became terrible camera guy and terrible guide at the same time.
50-50 of both.
Yeah. So I then just was like, no, I can't worry about the camera while I'm guiding. But it did spark that passion. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as the outfitter I worked for moved away, and another guy kind of moved in and had his own guides and everything, I just gave me the opportunity to then kind of chase the camera side of things. And so at that point, I just went for it that way, and I just started gathering footage. And even then, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
I mean, I was just gathering as much footage as I could.
Just content.
Yeah, and then I made a DVD because I thought that was,
that was the shit.
The shit, yeah, and that was going to be my big thing. And once I got this DVD
this
out,
then
I would be the real deal.
This is it. Yeah, I'm going to be on the stage with this one.
So at that time, the cool thing was to pack as many kill shots as you could into as little amount of time. So I literally packed everything I had into this DVD. I gave them everything, because I was
all
like, this is my ticket right here. I'm not holding anything
all
back.
in, baby.
So I think my first video was 22 hunts in a half an hour or something. Nice. So obviously not a lot of storytelling going on at that time. Right. It was there's one, and then, all right, moving on. And that didn't fill it for me either.
Yeah, because I'm sure afterwards you're like, that still isn't it.
Yeah.
That still isn't what I seen as a guide and what I felt and what I was doing what I thought you needed to do at that point versus doing what I wanted to do. So you at that point you weren't being you.
Right.
Yeah.
I was doing what I had seen other people do to make it, but that just wasn't fulfilling, and so then I just, decided that I wanted to tell more heartfelt stories. And so even like to this day, my equation is I look at everything I do as, the guy that's been there, done that, kind of hardcore dude, love to watch it, and is somebody that's for the first time ever watching hunting content. If they watch this, how will they feel when it's done? And so with everything I do, I try to use that 50-50 equation of if somebody's forming their opinion about hunting right now and they're watching me, are they going to go, man, that looks pretty cool. Like that guy, he was responsible, he was ethical. I could get behind that. That looked fun. Or when they get done watching, are they going to, go, that was disgusting. I can't even believe anybody does that.
Right.
Right. And so.
And it's a fine line.
It is.
Right.
It is. And it's not easy. But that's really the equation is, appealing to people who have no opinion on hunting as much as I'm appealing to the guy who just loves to watch it and eat it up, So, because, I like I said, I approach every single person as an opportunity to educate or bring somebody into our sport.
That's
and
right.
Little minor, one person at a time kind of thing. So
it is a one person at a time, right?
Yeah.
But I think, to touch back on the fact that you had to learn who you were through this process, right? I mean, this is something that we evolve through as men.
Sure.
And fathers and stuff. And, and it's a learning curve. If your eyes are open, your ears are open, your heart's open, then you're open to learn. And through the process, like you say, you hold that CD up like this is the ticket.
Yeah.
And now in retrospect, you look at that and you find your growth, but you also found failure, right? But through that, you figured out a way to change and make it better and bring Jason into it.
Yeah.
Right? Not the industry.
Right.
But Jason. And, when you finally realize that, what did you do with that? How long did it take you to kind of resonate on that and put that into perspective and move it to that next level?
It took a while because I always assume nobody ever wants to see me. Nobody ever wants to hear me talk. So for a long time, I purposely didn't do it. I just figured nobody wants, to watch a talking head. They do this because they want to watch hunting. So for a long time, I just wasn't even a part of the equation. Because I didn't think people wanted it. And then I did start to learn that people would like to learn who I am and that people would like to learn all this stuff, and it's still to this day, I don't believe, it's hard to believe, but I'm trying to get better about doing stuff like this, about trying to tell who I am outside of just this guy on the films kind of thing,
Right. So who is Jason outside of the films? Tell the listeners who you are outside of the films. As you stand and look in the mirror, who are you?
Well, I don't think I'm anybody different in the films as I am out of the films. I'm the same guy, and that's, I just really feel like I was put here to tell stories and create content and make conservation appealing.
Right. Right.
Nobody has really ever tackled that challenge to try to tell our story as hunters and conservationists and make it a beautiful thing people want to watch versus just a documentary style or a educational piece, So, I'm just nobody special, just chase my passion. And, I truly believe that without conservation, without the wildlife, like we were talking, that none of this would be here. So
right. And you wouldn't
I am
either.
proud of the show.
And you
I
wouldn't
wouldn't either.
Yeah.
And so I am proud of the TV show, and I am proud of working with my sponsors, and they're great companies.
Right.
But even all they understand that if we don't conserve the habitat, they won't be there either.
That's right.
And so for me, I'm just I am who I am, a hunter
Right.
conservationist, and that's the core of who I am, a father and a hunter and a conservationist.
I was hoping you'd mention that. I mean, you're a lot of other things other than what people see.
Sure.
I mean, you really are. When you look in the mirror at yourself, and what I see, is a humble man, a humble father, a good father, someone who's, living who they want to be and not trying to paint a different picture of who they are, right? And even from some of the pictures and some of the comments I've seen you make about your sons, I mean, you lift them to the top of the world. They are the top for you.
Absolutely.
Right? And if you can see your films and see your message of conservation and all the things you do there, and knowing that your children are above that, then that is super huge. Because what you give to the industry and what you're giving back through the films and through TV and through the conservation message and the foundation you stand on is really a high standard of ethics and a high standard of messaging and delivery and content. It's all really high. So, really,
well, I appreciate that.
I think you should, embrace that. And even through your Instagram feed, this is just my 2 cents. I think you don't put a lot of that out there on your page, so to speak. Your children and a lot of people are kind of that way. But even the little times that you have, it's like, pay attention to what I'm saying right here, right?
But yeah, social media is a kind of a necessary evil, I do love it, and I do love the people I've met through it and the opportunities to start conversations sometimes that I wouldn't have the opportunity to. Mm-hmm. But I hold my kids close, and I use social media for business.
Right.
And my kids and what we do that's us. That's our time.
Right.
People don't need to know about that,
No.
So
I'm just,
that's why I don't post a lot on my kids. It's not their choice. It's not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
if I put them out there, all of a sudden they're out there, and I don't, they'll have plenty of time for that.
Yeah,
and
it's cool though seeing you smile with your boys. It's cool seeing that side of you because it is a piece that people don't see a lot of.
Sure.
And I'll tell you another thing that I really like is when I see.
Well, he's about to start hunting, so now I'll be able to blend them both.
There you go. There you go. Nice. And another thing that I really like checking out what you do is every now and then you just take these cool pics on the top of, a crust of snow, and you're like, yep, I'm going down there. That's some cool stuff too. So I mean, you're an avid snowboarder.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a straight boarder? Are you a two-planker ever? Do you ever ski?
Well, I grew up skiing.
Yeah.
So I do know how to ski, but I like the ride that snowboarding gives me.
Yeah.
Versus skis, I feel like I'm just trying to keep it together the whole way down the mountain. Snowboarding, I feel like I'm on a ride.
Yeah. Do you
I
jam out when you ride?
No.
No? You stay connected to the sound of the powder and the different things? Yeah.
I'm not one for music when I'm in the hills.
No?
No. I don't know why. I've never combined hiking or hunting or even when I set up my camp. A lot of people
you're in
have
grizzly bear country. So that's a reason, right?
Well, yeah, sometimes.
I mean, I cruise around black bear country, right? So I'll listen to podcasts if I know I'm going through a bunch of stuff where I know there's mountain bikers and there's just all this stuff. I mean, for the most part, I'm very aware, but I'll listen to an hour or 2 hours while I'm hiking 6 miles in somewhere on a podcast or something.
And a lot of people do. I've just never liked crossing those. It's never really appealed to me. When I'm out there, I want to soak it up as best as I can, and I feel like, that's just, it's not allowing me to disconnect as much as I would like while I'm out there, When I used
to ski, man, my favorite thing to listen to when I was skiing was ZZ Top Afterburner. I have to divulge that guilty sin there. But. Well, so what's in 2018 for Stu Pedasso, man? Where's he going this year?
We've got a lot of two of my biggest films I've ever done are coming to a head this year. One is called Project Mule Deer. It's going to come out in September. So we're working hard at that. We're going to play the teaser tonight at the dinner banquet. And then I'm also doing a big project with the Wild Sheep Foundation right now called the Circle of Life. And it's just kind of what it's speaks for itself. It's kind of going to talk about the money raised here and how that keeps sheep on the mountain kind of thing, and that circle of how that works for people that don't understand. There's a lot of negativity surrounding like the Montana Governor Bighorn tag or any governor tag.
Right.
There's negativity because of the money that it generates, but people look at it all wrong. That without that money, our opportunities as residents, as Joe Blow hunter, they would dwindle really quickly without those governor tags to help supplement so much funding and only take one animal and not have 500 guys stomping through the woods. You've got one extra guy out there that bought one tag that generates 10 times more revenue than all the resident tags combined.
Right.
Right. So that's the story I want to tell. I want to be the devil's advocate. Not that I'll ever be able to afford buying these tags, but I sure do thank the people that do.
Right.
And I sure am thankful that there are people that out there on our side willing to spend that kind of money. And I was able to interview one of the governor tag guys that bought it a couple years ago. And like one thing I thought that was really cool, he said was, people don't see the hundreds of thousands of dollars I donate where there's not an animal to hunt at the end. I don't just pay to go kill an animal. Like there's hundreds of thousands of dollars that I just give because I want to give. Nobody says anything about that.
Right.
So
nobody's digging that dirt up.
Yeah, exactly. So those are two big projects for me, and I'm continue to do a lot of work with the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation through, their motto is hunting is conservation, and so we beat the drum as much as we can to tell people where hunting came from, where conservation was born, why it was born, and why it continues to thrive, why the North American model of wildlife conservation is such a powerful model, the best in the world.
Yeah.
And, we can't stop. Every day we got to continue to remind people what we do. And so that's really my goal with everything I do. It's no longer to just tell stories about a guy on a hunt. There has to be a bigger message to everything.
Absolutely.
And just for me to get even so involved in a project, there has to be more to it than it's just me and a guy and an elk. It's got to be more than that. So that's my goal, is to try to seek out these big topics that are going on and just air them out, get to the bottom of them. One film I'm doing for the Elk Foundation is called Both Sides of the Fence. And it's a film about, I hunted on some private land for elk last year, and a friend of mine hunted public land. And we filmed, both sides of the fence. And we just said, hey, here's some pros and cons of private. Here's some pros and cons of public. It's not always great over here. It's not always great over here. It's not
always greener on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the end, I miss a bull, and they end up running in on two, just going at it, fighting, and literally run right up to it and shoot it. So it's a cool story of, just because you're hunting private doesn't mean you're going to get some.
No,
just
it's not a guarantee.
Yeah. So trying to tell those stories, trying to tell people, they don't understand. When I decided to do this as a career, hunting public land for me changed. It dramatically changed. I have as much pride in hunting public land as anybody, but when if I go hunt there, I could potentially ruin it for everybody just because of the following that we have and what we're doing. That doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
And I've seen it happen to areas around my home that I've hunted since I was little that I don't even go there anymore, because of what we're talking about. And, people also don't understand that, I can't just go hunt public land like they can anymore. I have to apply 2 weeks in advance, and I have to pay up to $250 a day to be there.
Yeah.
So
for all the cameras and the
and
that stuff.
For the commercial
that's crazy,
permit.
right?
So it's like I could hunt 10 days on BLM, and it's $2,500. And that's before I pay my camera guys. That's before I do anything. It's $2,500 for me to go hunt 10 days on public ground.
Mm-hmm. How many trespass fees could that have gotten you?
Well, and that's just it. It's like I could then, go to pay a trespass fee for that and hunt where I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. And I don't have to worry about where my truck is parked. And I don't,
Or all the trailers and the crew and all the stuff.
So that's what I want to tell is like, look, I absolutely am a public land owner and will always fight for public land. But it's just not that easy. And don't just point the finger at these guys on TV and on these films because you think we need special favors. Right. It isn't about that.
Right.
It's about what it actually takes to do it legally, ethically, and commercially.
Yeah.
And
it's a huge
it's different.
deal.
It's different. I can no longer just go walk out my door and hunt, which was actually a great conversation I had with Zinke. He said that they are actively trying to work at getting the film permit fees ixnayed because he said it's stupid that you guys have to pay that.
It is stupid. I mean, when you're talking about Lord of the Rings showing up to do a film that makes $10 million, that's one thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But this isn't the case.
No, and what that fee was set up for is to like reclamate the land that we've disturbed during our commercial filming.
Yeah, give me a break.
So
you guys are
those
the
three
lightest.
Tripod legs right there really tore stuff up.
I mean, you tread lighter than most hunters, really.
Well, right, yeah. So
it's a crazy.
So I just want to air this stuff out. There's all this back and forth in our industry. We're eating our own, and it's for lack of trying to understand each other a lot too. I think.
I agree. Well, all three sound extremely dynamic and different in a sense, with a common tie.
Yep.
Right, and that's the way you're going to get to the non-hunter. That's the way you're going to get the hunters to understand as well, because not everybody sees it through the same lens.
Exactly.
Right, and so kudos to you for seeing the trifecta ability here on many different levels. I think that's awesome.
Sure.
So what's going to be new for Jason this year outside of films and hunting and things like that? Is there anything you're working on personally for yourself? Just anything out of the ordinary or anything normal?
Well, I would say the thing I'm looking forward to the most this year is my boy will be old enough to go on his first deer hunt. And it'll be the apprenticeship program. He'll be 10 years old. And, I mean, that's my big hunt of the year.
Absolutely.
I just can't wait to load him up in the truck and take the wall tent and go out and set it up and go cut some wood and get the cot set up and get camp set up and then just go hunting. I just cannot wait.
I know for myself, taking my kids hunting here in the last couple of years, man, that it is something it's super deep.
Man,
I mean, it's
I can't
deep.
Imagine what it's going to be like.
Deeper than anything you've done yourself.
Oh, yeah, right.
And no matter, I mean, you'll see, you'll be loaded up in that truck heading where you're going, and you're going to look over at him, and you're just going to be like, holy shit.
I know.
This is super real, and this is super, he's going to be looking at you like, yeah, okay. And you're just going to be like beaming over there, right?
Exactly.
It's such an awesome, empowering feeling. And
he's so excited for it, too. I mean, just the other day, he was in the living room, and he was laying, like, in the prone position like this on his stomach, and he goes, just think, Dad, in less than a year, I'm going to have a deer, my first deer in the scope. And he's just, he's laying there acting like he's aiming at it.
Right. Me and Callie saw some kids out in the hallway yesterday that were running up at the mounts and doing the same thing, dropping down, pretending like they're shooting the mounts out in the hallway. It was super cute, man. And that's when you see that kind of thing happening, man, it's like, that father's making a difference. Maybe I'm making a difference. Maybe we're making a difference, right?
Yeah.
And that fills your heart. Well, I'm just super stoked for you this year.
Thanks,
I am so stoked for you this year. Everything you got going on professionally, personally, it's just going to be. 2018 is going to be epic for you.
It's going to be a big year. Yeah. We're be no time to rest, but when 18 gets done and we can turn around and look at what we've accomplished, I think we'll be happy.
Well, we're going to sit down maybe at ATA or somewhere later after all the dust settles of this year for you and we're gonna dive back into that, and we're gonna talk and rewind through the year. It would be cool to reflect on what we talked about now, and and with the passion that was there going into it, and then where you're sitting at afterwards, and what you've learned, and how you feel, and what's great about it, and and what you've learned from what you've done that you can change and move forward.
Yeah,
because
constantly learning.
Yeah, the message is also constantly having to be adapted and rewritten. The story, is so important.
It is.
Right?
That's right. Yep.
And so it's huge. So, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. It's a super special time for me to hear you talk about these things and share it with my listeners. And we'll put in the show notes the tags for this stuff and links for things, and even they can follow up on that bill, and they can pay attention to the stuff we've talked about here, because educating yourself is important, and you're doing a major part of helping people educate themselves, and that takes a special person to be able to see that, feel it, build it, message it, deliver it, and I'm just really looking forward to feeling all that out of your heart and your soul that's been created through your whole life.
I appreciate that,
and it's coming to a huge, huge thing, and I'm super proud of you for what you're doing. And
thanks, man.
Good luck to your son, man. Good luck to him.
Yeah, he's got a terrible guide, so he needs all the help he can get.
Well, I'm pretty sure that if it's it doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't.
If you even see a deer, we all know that a 10-year-old needs to see a heartbeat. I know my kids are like, God, we didn't even see anything alive today, Dad. Do you even know what you're doing? Right? But at least if they see something move and it has a heartbeat, then there's hope.
Yeah, for sure.
And
keeps them in the game.
It keeps them in the game. So that's my only word of advice. Not that you didn't know that, but that's what I learned. Well, cool, sir.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
It's my pleasure having you on. We'll catch up again next year. So
absolutely.
Great.
Enjoy the show.
Any shout-outs to anybody? Shout-outs to anybody that might that'll be listening?
I would just say, anybody that's supported me or my films or my work or followed or, I appreciate it. I really do. It's I love getting the messages from people. I love hearing from people. People always feel like they're bothering me or they don't want to, but the reality is if I didn't hear that stuff, if I didn't hear from people, I would, that's what fuels it for me, is to hear from the people. So just thank you to anybody who supports what I do.
Right on. Where can they send you messages and support?
Like on Instagram. I have an Instagram page, Jason Matzinger Official. On Facebook, Jason Matzinger Official. That's usually the best place to find me. I've got a website, intohighcountry.com. There's contact info there. So I'm out there. I'm not hard to find. So
awesome.
Let me know.
Sounds good. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Wilderness Attitude Podcast. I really hope you enjoyed that podcast with Jason. I mean, you can feel the passion. You can feel the energy. You can see, the drive that this man has from his heart and his soul, from, obviously from being born in Bozeman, Montana. Not that you have to be born there to have this, but it surely fuels who he is, and it makes it a special part of what he's delivering to you. And he takes a lot of pride, puts a lot of energy into this, and if you can take the time to slow down, look at some of these films, and not just watch them to watch them, but watch them to listen, watch, feel it, understand it. And if you have any questions about it, you have any more interest or anything you want to do, shoot Jason a message or myself at wildernessattitude.com. We'll shoot you the right direction. Even if there's places you want to get, an organization, or you don't have some ideas, between the two of us, we can find places for that to happen. So reach out to us and let us know. And we appreciate your reviews. Go give us a star, 1, 5. Let us know how we're doing. And even some kind words would be greatly appreciated. They're starting to come in, and it's super empowering, like Jason said. When you get an email from someone that is listening to your podcast, or you get a message through Instagram about something, that they're happy with something and they learned something or they felt something through something that we do, it's awesome. So we really appreciate all of that. Thank you, and we will catch you next time.
Hi, I'm Stupid Asso, and I'm on the Wilderness Attitude Podcast. I'm Stupid Asso. I'm Stupid Asso, and you're listening to the Wilderness Attitude Podcast.
That was straight delivered right there.
Okay, I'm really Jason Matzinger, and you're listening to the Wilderness Attitude Podcast.